Javelins, freelancers, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another update from Anthem Universe. I am one of your hosts, Gaz, and we are talking the latest Anthem developer update, in particular the AMAAAAAA earlier today. Now, grinding through the tweets with ample focus and humour, executive producer Mark Dara, head of live services Chad Robertson, and the one and only lead producer Ben Irving brought a little more transparency and curiosity to the fray on their recent Ask Me Almost Anything About Anthem. Now, within the session, three core themes for me emerged. The first one, quality of life; the second, limitations; and thirdly, the future. Now, a disclaimer first of all, expect most of these in a patch ready for game launch. So for those of you playing via early access with Origin Premiere, Origin Access, or EA Access, you'll experience a game minus these day one updates, which admittedly is frustrating but not unreasonable given the time frame it takes to create, roll out, approve, and publish an update of this nature. So let's review where we're at. Firstly, the quality of life that I mentioned. Now, BioWare are considering a spectator cam while you are down, but not for launch. So that's just a reminder, a spectator cam for you when your Javelin goes down has been requested by many freelancers out there, but that is not going to be for launch. They are looking at it. Secondly, the team are looking into waypoints. So not for launch once again, but they are considering how waypoints can be set on the map. That is a big frustration, I think, for a lot of players from the demo, so we'll be keen to see how quickly that is considered and rolled out, because I feel that the players want that. But on the same side, I know the philosophy of BioWare has always been that they want you to explore. There's got to be some middle ground there where we meet halfway, because I think at this point gamers do want to have a waypoint. They'll get frustrated if they can't actually have some sense of direction, but there needs to be, of course, the philosophy of BioWare considered in that you're discovering your world of Bastion. Thirdly, a mass salvage option is available, and of course we know this from our previous gameplay that we've shown to you, and that's of course through the vault and the launch bay. Fourthly, when you're returning from an expedition, you'll be able to select where you're heading, either to the launch bay or Fort Tarsus. Again, slight quality of life improvement, but good to see that we won't have to go back to Fort Tarsus if we don't need to, and we'd rather just visit the social hub area of the launch bay and engage with our Javelin customizations, etc. Fifth, there are numerous balancing changes to the core game since the demo, bearing in mind the demo is already 7 weeks old, behind on patches. So just a reminder that there has been a lot of balancing to the game since the last demos. Next, the loading teams that we saw in the demo have been improved. So again, they were a little bit painful. I mean, they're bearable, but it's great to see that they're significantly improved. Hopefully we can see a big improvement on the final release. Next, the sprint speed inside Fort Tarsus. I know everyone's been asking about this, has been increased, and the walk speed has been decreased. Now, before you get up in arms about that, there was some concerns that when you walk through at walk pace in Tarsus, that you are missing key story elements. Many players were, so they've pulled back a little bit on the walking speed, but they've amped up, of course, the running speed. So I think it's a fair compromise, and it'll be good to see when we get that at final launch. And of course, they've worked on some few missing Tarsus interactions, movement responsiveness, and camera improvements inside Tarsus. Again, expect those February 22. Next, stronghold issues where players were disconnected while holding onto an echo objective have also been improved. If you recall, this was making strongholds unfinishable, which was, well, pretty much atrocious, but it has been resolved. That's very reassuring. Next, there will be no kick player feature. People have asked about this in the past to kick. I think we can agree there is a challenge with doing that. If you allow people to kick, you allow people to grief. On the flip side, you also allow people to grief by mucking up your game, by being AFK or away from keyboard, etc. So in short, BioWare are looking at solutions. It certainly won't be kick player, but it's more so focusing on away from keyboard or players being present but not actively playing in the game. And lastly, if you get disconnected from a game, you'll get all the experience and loot acquired up until that point. Obvious point, but again, something that wasn't happening sometimes in the demo. Good to see. Second of all the categories, as I mentioned, is limitations. Now, there's 4 of these, and my concern is that these aren't addressed for now. They're not major game breakers, but I still have that concern, which you've probably heard me talk about before in free play. I want to see how that turns out, but at this point, free play will not have a private session option. We know why that is, because again, free play and the entirety of Anthem is meant to be a shared conversation. Remember Remember, my story, our world. That's always been the philosophy for this game from the beginning, so in all fairness, this is why BioWare are sticking to their guns on that point. Again, I'm curious to see how that's going to work. As I said, you've got 4 players forced into an open world. How do those players engage? If they chose not to engage, how does that affect their gameplay? Because we saw some issues of that in the demo, but again, let's see what to expect from that at launch. Secondly, there is no training or target room. Now, for those that played Division, you'd know the shooting range was a very, very useful tool to look at bullet counts, to look at spread, to understand effects of gear and weapons, etc. Now, obviously, we may not expect the exact same type of thing here, but that, and even Warframe has an element like this to test on enemies as well. So, unfortunately, you're not going to get anything like that, maybe down the track, but it's not something that they've confirmed, and not something that they've said, after launch at this point. Thirdly, guilds don't really exist, remember? So guilds don't have some private social space. We do have the launch bay, which allows up to 16 players to play around and converse and check out their javelins, etc. But it's not really a universal social space. Again, that's not in BioWare's design. It may come at some point, but at this stage, I don't see it happening anytime soon. Lastly, of the limitations is no photo mode, and again, it's not a deal breaker. It would be nice to have though, because there could be some amazing shots, and if anything, it could actually improve the perception of this game as people will be tweeting the hell out of these beautiful shots. We saw what players were doing already just with the idle camera alone, so it is unfortunate, but again, never say never. I suspect it might come at some point, but at this stage, a bit disappointing we won't be seeing that for launch. Lastly, the future. So the last series of information really talks about the future and what to expect. BioWare will be adding statistics to the Expedition screen post-launch. So, please tell us we'll get that daily grab-it hit rate. BioWare, please, 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 please. Secondly, the future additional cosmetics to be added will include armor, emotes, banners, vinyls, and more. The elusive word more. We'll see what that means in due course. Sponsored and branded and event vinyls will likely be part of the game. There is a dynamic time of day in-game, which most of you would know, and it does also actually happen in Tarsus as well. Next up, story missions will all have a matchmaking option. Fair enough. More open world activities will be added over time. There is not a hard ending credit with screens, so for example when the game ends you won't just go straight to credits, the story will actually continue and will continue to evolve as time goes on. Cataclysms are the aspiration content for teams, challenges and top rewards, the place to earn the best. So essentially that is going to be the nearest to what you may know as raid-like events. Prepare freelancers for the Cataclysms. And last but certainly not least, if you want to be thick boy like Colossus, you have to do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats and run 10 kilometers, a course according to Mark Dara. Look, in discussing more quality of life features as well as addressing concerns from the demo, BioWare are on a strong trajectory. My concerns here still lie with the final release of the free play mode and potentially some of the limitations around the social space and even the photography. But we will see the results of all this very, very soon. If you like what we do, please drop a subscribe and be sure to come say hello on the Twitter at AnthemUniverse and of course in the Discord, discord.anthemuniverse.com. I'm going to leave it there. I am Ogaz for Anthem Universe. Javelins, freelancers, we will see you next over the wall.